We are going to go through our analysis now. Welcome to the FEH Channel analysis. So the reaction was more just like mind-blowing in terms of how much info there is to comprehend. I think I have mixed feelings on it, so we're going to go through it in more detail here. Yeah, sit tight and let's look at it together, shall we? So I'm going to actually put this on 2x speed because that's how we do it. We don't want to listen to FEH for like a minute. Like, who does that? Oh, hey! Oh. Okay, she obviously doesn't say anything for the first like minute, so let's actually look at the first time we get some info, which is here, which is the 2nd anniversary celebration login bonus. This is just a login bonus from looks of it, just literally saying we're gonna get 22 orbs. The whole event will give us double XP and SP. I guess that's kind of cool if we got some new stuff. Ether Raids update. This is covered later. And I saw some interesting things to see there. Daily rewards maps. So this is going to be similar to how many orbs we get. 22 maps. I'm assuming they're going to have two difficulties. So maybe like 44 orbs or maybe more than that. Could be a lot of orbs. This sounds like a lot of orbs. Then we have our daily summoning events. This is similar to last year's with like 15 banners or so. I don't know if it's 15 this time, but we'll count through them. Special Hero Summoning and 2nd Anniversary Minigame. So let's go through them because that's kind of like our content. She talks about it here. Let's count how many banners there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so yeah, we literally have 11 of these daily summons. That's pretty cool. I think the most notable ones from this would probably have to be... Well, they're all 3-person from the looks of it, so that's good. That means you're going to get some value out of them. But this one has to be the best one because of Hector being there. I mean, distant counter fodder is always pretty desirable. The other ones are interesting. I don't really think there's anything... like really notable. I mean, the Takumi one is here as well, but Takumi's better pulled for in he's better pulled for on the 2-person banner that's currently active, so this isn't going to be as much value, but if you missed him there, then that's a good opportunity to get it there. This actually has some decent value, Ishtar and Reinhardt's banner, believe it or not, because that is sharing 2 blues together, and Rein is quite a good unit to merge up. Saves you a lot of feathers, and he's obviously pretty good in a lot of modes. And Ishtar is also a pretty decent like hero, so that's some pretty good value there for blue if you were to go for it. This feels like we're just getting a repeat of the new power banner without Tailtube being there, so that's interesting. Other than that, there's really not much. I guess Micaiah, but... Yeah, I think the Hector, Takumi, and Ishtar banners are the only ones that stand out there.
Without using any orbs. Next is FEH, a guaranteed 5-star special hero summoning event. So many special heroes were released in the period running until January 2018, and you'll be able to summon one of them. Okay, so the thing I understood from this is we randomly get one of these, like this is our pool. Our summoning pool is this. You get a random 5-star seasonal, depending on what color you choose, and a bunch of seasonals just pop up. This is tough to decide because you really got to go through and possibly pick the unit that is like the least likely to have junk in it. Like, I can already tell you right now, blue has like Spring Xander and like Spring Lucina and Bridal Charlotte, and like that those are already like, OMG, I don't want any of those. Like, they're not giving you any. Shigure, that's like 4 in blue, that's already like, nope, I'm not touching blue. That's like, no thank you right there. But then you have maybe like green to look at, and green might have Spring Camilla, Spring Crom, and Spring Cam's okay. Spring Crom, at least, like, the axe is good. I'm a big fan of Carrot Axe. That's not bad. But Inigo is like a worse small Zura at this point. At least I already have like 2 or 3 books of that. Summer Xander has Infantry Pulse at least, and Lilith Floaty, like, that's actually not a bad one for green. We got the Melon Girl, and like, she doesn't really have much besides that Melon Crusher. And close defense is kind of outdated now because in the Grail pool. So like, this comes down to like, you know, which color is the least disappointing to you? Because if it's so random like this, you can't just like hope for the best. And like, you literally cannot target something you want. It's so unlikely that you'll get something you want. Like if I'm saying, oh, I want close counter from red, let's just hope I get winner Darja. And then all of a sudden a Summer Leo comes out and you're like, well, guess I'll uninstall the game, because that's like pretty much what it looks like. So instead of trying to target something, it looks like the best strat for this is just to like pick the pool that's going to give you the least amount of poop. Like that's literally what I'd go for. Also, since you kind of want to maybe iron out the color that has the least amount of stuff sharing with it. So for example, green is very saturated, blue is very saturated, and it looks like maybe colorless and red have the least amount of stuff in it. So like if just by looking at it, if you go through the top row for reds, you have Halloween Noe in red, Winter Darja in red, that's like 2, NY Camilla for 3 red, and Summer Leo's 4. I think that might be all the reds from the first year. So actually that means that choosing red has like a 25% chance to give you close counter. That's not great, but it also depends on how you feel about the other things pulled. So Summer Leo is like, well, that's like wasting your summon. Halloween Noe at least has the Bond skill, I guess, and a pretty decent tome and Hone Flyers, but Hone Flyers is less desirable now. And finally, you'd be having the Katamatsu, which is actually pretty good. NY Camilla having Katamatsu is still one of the 2 support weapons other than Gaishin from Hrid. So actually red has like a 50% chance to be pretty good, and Noe being pretty good, with Leo being the worst. Like that's already a pretty, like I'd honestly just say like go red on it. Just based on that deduction, I think 50% for the end is something really good, 25% for okay, and 25% being trash is already pretty decent odds, I'd say. With like green already looking pretty bad, it like you can have so many things that don't really want you to show up. Colorless, on the other hand, seems to have a smaller amount of units as well, but might have something good like Olivia, Jacob, Takumi. That's like 3 up here that I may have counted, and you'd have Freddy with the seashell, the Gaius, Cordelia, and Lynn. Okay, so I think colorless is actually pretty dud. I mean, there's really not much from colorless that you're gonna want. It looks like red's the way to go. I think red or green. I think that'd be what I'd go from here.
Let's try summoning someone. Well, I'm kind of colorless, right? So I'm gonna summon a colorless hero. Oh look, I got Sakura. This special summoning event will run from February 1st.
I mean, Sakura has kitty paddle, but unfortunately that can't be that can't even, you can't even do anything with that. You can't refine it. All the other effective daggers have just become better options at this point.
Until February 8th. Remember, you only get 1 chance to summon during this event.
She didn't get a red orb.
There was no
That's actually a good point. The chance of you even getting a red orb is lower because all the focus units are everything but red. So, so if you see a red, go for it, because it's probably not even going to show up.
I mean, I want to. No, wait.
Better have a backup plan.
Summoning event featuring special heroes released in February of 20.
Okay, this is nuts. This is nuts right here. So the first year seasonals were all like, but these ones are crazy in comparison. You can get so much better stuff from here. But it's still completely random, so you're going to have to do another deduction as to what is the least amount of pain from pulling a specific color if you have the choice. So let's do red, because we know seasonals are like they're the least likely to show up. So let's count the reds. We have Summer Young Tiki, which honestly doesn't really have much for fodder besides the bond skill, so that's already kind of oof. Makaya, which again doesn't really have much for fodder, but a really good meta unit at least. Halloween Mur, which is okay. I mean, that's pretty good. Then you have both Hrid and Gunthro, which are actually both very good choices to pull from red because of their really good fodder. Then we have Darja. I think she had a feint skill and a attack speed bond. Attack speed bond's pretty good, so that's not bad. Still one of the best ones, especially since it's not in the Grail pool yet. And that leaves Summer Tana, who has attack speed push. Again, not bad at all.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So red already looks decent. I'd say that's probably like a 50% hit of having something pretty good from the second year. But let's look at some other colors and confirm, what could happen here. Like, let's look at colorless, for example. Colorless has close counter, but then it has Summer Lind. So unless you like Starfish, but like Hoshiden Xander's pretty good. Then we got Halloween Mia, which has the Witchy Wand, and that's actually nowadays in like Ether raids, Witchy Wand could actually be a very good meta check to counter Infantry Pulse teams. Winter Erica, which is also a pretty good, has a good weapon and tons of good fodder. Levitine as well, having a really unique staff, some good fodder there as well. Takumi's got that bow. I don't think it's too great. And Odd Res Wave, not such a strikeout there. Coco Bow from Noir, so I think that's kind of a miss. And Infantry Rush, those aren't really too great. And Roy's our boy. And honestly, he's probably not our boy because that's like the lead. That's like he doesn't have anything. So I don't know. Like that's already pretty bad. A lot of duds and colorless here. I'd probably go for red already. Green has this encounter, but it also has Lilina, has Sharina, which doesn't have anything, has Sanaki, which does have defense res link. That's really good when you combine it on Odin, for instance. Man, this is going to be a tough choice, guys. This is going to be some tough stuff. Green has Kagro with Bold Fighter, Alincia with the Slaying Dagger. Okay, Green has like some pretty good options, actually. If you get distant counter, Alincia with that dagger, Kagro with Bold Fighter, Spring Stream has a dud. So you have like 2 duds in green. Innis has nothing good. Peach Banner, I guess. And a Fjorm. I think she's got some decent fodder. That's pretty much it. Green looking pretty good because it has a low amount of units in it. And some really good stuff in there. Oh, we got our Bulge, who's still pretty much the only dude with defense smoke. I think that's it. I don't think I would touch blue. Maybe colorless, but there's so many duds in colorless. Red is kind of hit and miss too. Blue does have Niles, but I don't know if I want to dig through Summer Cordelia to get that. Summer Cam has Far Formation, which is pretty good. Ephraim has some fighter skills. Lynn, attack speed bond, I guess. Catriel is kind of a miss now since Chill Res isn't so good. And I guess Ryoma's got that Armor Slaying Dagger, which could be decent. So, yeah, on a second glance, this one is much harder to decide. And I think the safest bet might be just like red for fodder or green for fodder if you don't know what to do. But maybe you'd have to really look at this as a whole and see how you feel when looking at that. Yeah, you ain't getting Fjorm. I saw 2 reds there and 1 green, and the green ended up being Hector.
Well, look at that, it's Hector! He's not the one I was dreaming of, but he's a good guy. He'll be great on my team.
I'm sure he will.
On February 15th. Don't forget to summon. And there's one more event. Find and vote heroes. This is a special 2nd anniversary mini-game site. The #1 character for each color will be part of a special summoning event.
Okay, so let's play through this, and then I'll kind of like summarize what I think is going on here and what it'll lead to, and it can have some pretty big implications for us as players. So
In the future. Let's try voting. I'll start with a green summoning stone again. There are
So-
many heroes on this.
she's basically, it's a site minigame. You do it on the website. You click on this colored stone and you find the hero you want to vote for and make it like interactive and fun. But I guess the effort required for you to do that means that the people who really want something go through the effort to vote for it rather than just clicking something, right? Instead of let's say specific YouTubers or specific people just telling people who don't play the game to go and click a button for a vote. But no, we actually have to put in a bunch of effort. So if you actually want the units, you have to go and put in the effort to find it and vote for the character. Therefore, we actually want it. So that's pretty good. I am actually a fan of that.
Snap. Where is... There. Go. Now it's time to vote.
She found it, Fjorm.
Again? I need to find the order of heroes this time. I see. If you find all 3 of the Asquin trio, your vote counts double. And
See, so it literally where's Waldo? Like this literally where's Waldo? I'm gonna actually have some fun doing this, I think. It's pretty cool. I like this. Where's Waldo?
Heroes released through January of 2019 are eligible. Voting will take place between February 3rd at 7 p.m. Pacific time and February 8th at 6:59 p.m. Pacific time. You can vote 1 time each day. Flock the vote, everyone.
Okay.
A special summoning event that follows the vote. Second anniversary heroes. Instead of getting to perform one summon without orbs, once you select a type, you'll get the number 1 hero as a 5-star unit. Seeing is believing.
Yes.
I'm going to try my talent at summoning. This is a little bit different than normal, isn't it? The summoning stones are golden. I guess that the number 1 hero of each type will show up here. I can't wait.
Okay, so this is exactly correlated to the votes that just happened. So basically whatever we as the players vote for of every color end up being here. It's like our own kind of mini choose your legends, or from last year, for those of you who know, Hero Rises had like it gave us Legendary Ike. The people voted for Legendary Ike. But this time, the people will vote for the most popular characters of every color, and they'll end up in these 4 orbs. They're not shown right now because we don't know what we're going to vote for. But if I was already to tell you and give you some recommendations as to some really solid choices of every color, number 1, everyone who's touching the blue orbs should automatically go to Legendary Azura, because Legendary Azura is the best thing that can happen for, it doesn't matter what you play this game for. Abyssals, Ether Raids, Arenas, Arena Assault, Merges, B-Dual Flying, Catria fans, I don't care. Anyone who's going blue probably wants a Legendary Azura in one way or another. And even if you already have one, the fodder she provides and the Merge update will help you make her better. But beyond that fact, red likely wants to be something like Winter Darja for close counter. Is already a really good one with Vengeful Fighter, so a lot of people could use that if you're looking for specific fodder. I'd also expect maybe somebody like, I'd say for popularity's sakes, maybe somebody like Legendary Marth or All might win, but I don't really feel like this should be strictly based on a popularity contest, and people should try to vote for what has like the most amount of good for either you as a player when it comes to playing the game, because this has an actual game implication, or what might, if you're not sure, then what most people could use for helping them succeed in the game, which is why I recommended Legendary Azura earlier, because that fits into most team comps really well. In green, I mean, it's comparable to like Legendary Azura. Legendary Hector with Osteopulse fits into a lot of teams. He's good in armors. He's a standalone good unit because of Thunder Armads, plus he comes with good fodder in the name of Distant Counter and Vengeful Fighter. So you see how this is kind of correlating pretty well. Not because he's armored, but just how they kind of help other team comps correlate. Finally, in the colorless options, it's pretty much like, gonna assume I want to say something like Takumi for close counter. Hoshiden Xander has close counter as well. I think Hoshiden Xander is a bit better though, because he has a bit more fodder options. So you should probably go for that instead. Recently Duma got released, but to be totally honest with you guys, Duma is not exactly the best of characters that was released recently. If you want to check that out, I did cover him in my impressions video. So Duma is not really useful for most people. He does come with Bold Fighter, I guess, and if you are really struggling on air defense, you don't know how to make good defense comps, then I think he'd be pretty useful there if you can kind of band-aid your scoring. But beyond that fact, I mean, for most other content, he's not really going to be doing much for you. So yeah, I mean, most people, like, if you've been struggling maybe for some F2P guides, like Veronica, voting Veronica here for a second chance to get Veronica could also be a decent way, you know, to help out a lot of people, because the unit we will summon from here most likely will be neutral. Some other shout-outs to some pretty dominant meta units right now would be stuff like Hoshiden Makaya and Makaya herself. Again, those kind of stand out a lot to me, but the thing is, they don't really provide that much fodder, and they're not really useful to many people who may not play the game at a competitive level. Number one choice for me will be Legendary Azura every single day. I hope that's a thing. Yeah, let's move on.
To see who wins. After your first summon, the number 1 heroes will be available as focus heroes, like in a regular summoning event. This summoning event begins on February 24th, so look forward to it.
It's quite a whiles away. It's almost at the end of the month. So we're not going to get like our free whatever we get by the end of the month, because it's going to take a while to get through the votes, and they probably summarize it.
This second anniversary celebration sure does sound like fun. If I was hiding, would you look for me? And by the way, starting with the next version, you can change your home screen to look like where I am right now. And now.
Can't change castle music. Feels bad, man.
These items do not look familiar. Perhaps these have an effect on heroes? I see. They're dragon flowers, and they increase a hero's stats. Let's see here. There are 4 types of dragon flowers. Infantry, cavalry, flying, and armored. They relate to the hero's movement type, obviously.
Before we jump into Dragon Flowers, there's one thing I really wanted to mention about these specific heroes here that I didn't mention that could be really important to realize. I will cover the Dragon Flowers in a second. There's another reason why you may want to pick stuff like legendary heroes here or mythic heroes instead of just your regular heroes that might be either A, seasonal, or B, in the permanent pool. And that's because the amount of orbs you spend to get those particular heroes on average. So the mathematics is very important to realize here. Something like legendary Hector or legendary Azura or even Duma, as much as I'm reluctant to say that, or F Grima, let's say those are only snipeable on legendary banners, which require hundreds of more orbs than something like, let's say, Nyla, who comes with distant counter, or even Hector from like the green permanent pool would require, or even Tsukumi from the permanent pool, because these units can end up on like 2-person banners where they're much easier to acquire, requiring almost like a third of the amount of orbs that someone like legendary Azura may need. And this means that somebody who took, let's say, 200 to 400 orbs to get legendary Azura is better off getting it off something like this than they would be trying to snipe it from a legendary banner, compared to, let's say, Nyla, who could show up for like 80 to 100 orbs on 2 or 3-person banners. So I really want to hammer that in, that legendary heroes, a chance to get them that doesn't require you to go through a legendary banner is huge. And I'm sure many of us have experienced sniping in a legendary banner where you're looking for a specific unit only to get absolutely hammered by the fact that 12 focus units on legendary banner makes it so difficult to get a specific unit there. That's the last thing I want to say about this. So that's why picking what you want to do might have some huge implications, not only for yourself, but for the community as a whole. And it comes with the guides too. I mean, like, based on what options happen later, I'll definitely cover it, but there's going to be better choices and worse choices based on just orb spending and orb economy. Okay, back to Dragon Flowers.
And they increase a hero's stats. Let's see here. There are 4 types of dragon flowers: infantry, cavalry, flying, and armor. They relate to the hero's movement type, obviously. Let's make Hector stronger.
Okay.
All right. All of his stats have increased by 1.
Okay, so what did that say? What did that say at the message? Stat increases from Dragon Flowers will have no effect on arena matchups. So they said arena, though. They didn't say ether raids. As you see on the bottom here, it says Dragon Flowers have no effect on arena matchups. So we can't use this to make our arena matches easier, but they didn't mention ether raids. I'm not sure. I feel like if they were going to affect ether raids, they would have said that it would have affected ether raids. And there's also no indication that your opponents can't also do this. It might be like, there's not really clear on the language here. Is this only going to affect scoring? Is this going to affect the actual like stat? How does it affect the UI? Do we click plus on the unit? There's not enough information here to kind of display the whole picture for us.
His stats have increased by 1.
Like, if you look at this, Hector's stats went up, but there's no actual change on his like portrait here. We don't have a plus like from the merges. I don't see any dragonflower icon neither on his actual portrait square nor on his little like details here. He just literally has more stats, and it's not visual here, but when we clicked on him, there was there. So this isn't giving me enough info to tell you like what is going on. Are we gonna, if it has no effect on arena matchups for scoring, then are you telling me I could get matched up with a guy who has like a +10 dragonflower thing and I have none because it had no effect on BST? Or are they just not used at all in arena matchups? Because the first scenario would just be an unfair advantage for the opponent, or it would be a really like buffing my own unit and the opponent can't use it, so I get an advantage. Like, I don't know. You didn't really explain that very well, Faye.
Is that it? Of course there are rules, right? There's a limit on how many times you can use dragon flowers. You can use dragon flowers to strengthen any hero up to 5 times. Infantry type heroes that have been released up till now can be strengthened an additional 5 times for a total
Strengthen additional 5 times.
of 10 times.
Okay. So that was pretty important to realize. And she specifically mentioned infantry heroes. So so that means that your boy Matthew here can get strengthened 10 times versus all future, like this point on in the future, infantry heroes can only be strengthened 5 times. This is kind of a way, it seems, to tackle like power creep and make sure the older units still keep up their BST. But it doesn't apply to armors, it doesn't apply to flyers, nor does it apply to cavalry. And this must be intentional. And honestly, I kind of agree, because infantry are probably the weakest ones anyways when it comes to this sort of stuff. Depending on what infantry. Some infantry are really good. Like, I feel like some units are really going to benefit from this sort of thing. Take Fur, for example. She's going to absolutely, dismantle teams because of all this extra stats. Somebody like Julius is going to love something like this as well. So this is ridiculous. For some specific infantry characters, they're going to go nuts. Building infantry teams with, like, M. Corin and Julius with close counter, Roy's and Furs, all these like really mixed bulk units, just getting so much stats is gonna make them excel like crazy. And of course, Fjorm. Yeah, she needed it. She absolutely needed it.
For a total of 10 times! You can obtain dragon flowers from heroic ordeals. This is a new kind of map, so let me explain. Heroic ordeals are maps specifically prepared for each hero.
Let's look at that in more detail, shall we? What just happened here? Ally boost 1 times daily until ordeal is cleared. Choose an ally to undertake this trial. Okay. And don't understand this interface too much.
Heroic ordeals are maps specifically prepared for each hero. If you want to take on the challenge, you must have that hero on your team. The hero must defeat at least 2 enemies for it to count as...
Just here to fight trial. So, Survivors 2, you can bring in a second unit, defeat 2 or more foes with the Ordeal Challenger, fulfill this clear condition to receive this reward. And we get like 8 Dragon Flowers. This is not a lot. This is actually not a lot if we're just getting 8. Like, this could be very grindy or very time consuming, and it has to be like a daily thing. But maybe we do it like tons of times with different characters. Interesting. I don't know how time consuming this might be.
Is a victory, so be sure they're ready for battle.
20 turns to win, and it looks like you brought in your own Hector and Sakura versus a bunch of stuff. We don't know if this is random or not.
After you clear the map, dragon flowers are your reward. Just 1 time per map, of course. Dragon flowers and heroic ordeals will appear in the next update, but I bet you're already thinking about which hero you'd like to make stronger, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Next update!
You're right,
There are
I am
2
thinking
updates to
about
unlock
it.
this time around. The first is Aether Raids. Starting with the next season, things are changing a little bit. As you can see, it'll be easier to play when you want to.
Okay, so this is pretty insane. If you're up at like the top levels of Aether Raids, it already costs like 120 Aether plus per match. So you pretty much only have like one to 2 matches per day once you're up into your 21. That's my current situation. And now they're going to be capped at 50, but we still regen like 70 per day. And I guess it's gonna remove the free day one. All battles will require, so you can kind of like play it whenever you want. You're not obligated to play it every day, so it's kind of interesting. There's not going to be that element of having to play every single day and making sure that you get as much ether saved. So you can probably take like a few days off here and there. But, once it regens a few days, then you'd have to play quite a bit, especially with the fountain also kind of regenerating you like 70 a day. You pretty much will be playing like once a day and once and a half a day. I think that's okay. It's probably about the same amount, but at the start of season, you get 4 matches right away.
The highest AR tier will be bumped up too. Currently, 21 is the highest rank, but now it'll be all the way up to...
Okay, so this is crazy. There's not that much of a change from what it seems. We're going to get more grails, 6 more grails per week. So we're getting 6 more grails per week. That's an interesting number. And yeah, but the actual gaps between them aren't very much. In fact, you pretty much enter the first, if you saw it right here, you enter the first tier above after only 400 lift. And if you play with like air, this is very relevant in light season. In light season, you pretty much get like 170 per match, 160 to 190. If you have 2 airs, 160, and 190 is like the most you can get for having like 3 plus 10 airs. So you be getting a lot of lift per match. Even like your first day, you can you can get up to, like, if you just have 2 airs, no merges, you get up to 640. So the first day with perfect matches and a successful defense, you're already almost up to tier 23 just on the first day. And if a season lasts a whole week, let's say you would get up to maybe 24, 25. I don't think this is very easy to reach at the top, actually. And the reason I don't think so is because you're probably going to need to merge up your airs like a lot to get as much lift as possible, perfect your matches, and your defense is going to matter even more. So this is nuts. But the thing is, and if you see the fine text at the bottom, it's kind of cut off by this bar here, but it basically says once you're above tier 22, you're going to reset back to 21 every single week. So if you don't have an investment on like the Astra season, for instance, and we don't yet, like Astra seasons, it's like going to be impossible to reach tier 27 because that's going to be 24 matches of 100 lift. We don't have that many in a week, I don't think. Plus, you have to be perfect on defense. So that's crazy. The thing is, the rewards themselves are pretty insignificant between the tiers. You're pretty much getting like 1 grail per tier up. You get a lot more flowers, though. The flowers are cool. I think the flowers can upgrade your units, and I think the flowers will be used in the mode. So, I mean, why would they give it like that? Yeah.
It looks like you'll be able to earn dragon flowers and Aether Raids! Aether Raids isn't the only thing getting an update. Merge Allies is getting a boost too! The first time you merge a hero, the stat bump will be higher than it was before. The focus of the increase will be the stat.
Okay, so we already, this was already announced back in January, covered in the FEH channel. Just to TLDR it, summarize it. Basically, Banes are going to cease to exist after merging a unit once. So if you merge it once, no more Bane. If it had a minus attack Bane, merge it once, no more minus attack Bane. For neutral units, it takes their 3 top stats at level 1, whatever that might be. This is very important for GHB and Tempest Trials units, or a neutral IV character. If you pull one, merge it once, it gets 3 bonus stats for whatever that might have been. Pretty good, pretty huge. Honestly, very good change. Makes a lot of pulls that you may have gone that were really disappointing. Not so bad if you were able to get 1 more copy of the unit. Okay, so I'm going to skip through this part because I pretty much just summarized it. We don't have to go through that. Yeah, it just goes through art and stuff. So honestly, the biggest things to come from this, and I hope some things are missing because like some notable things I've noticed from this is there's no actual summoning pool changes. Is this their like way of handling seasonals going forward? Like it's really weird because like these guys here, these seasonals, once we get into spring, we're gonna literally have 3 seasonal spring banners. Literally 3 seasonal spring banners. We're gonna have these ones here, the 2018 ones, and then a 2019 one. So like 3 free summons for at once. I mean, that's okay for me. Whatever, I'll take more free summons, but the thing is, if someone's a new player and they just start, they're gonna start seeing like 10, 12 banners active at once. We already see like 9 active banners. They're gonna see like 12 starting. That's gonna be like overwhelming for a new player. There's no way a new player is gonna come in and be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what I want. They might just see Spring Camilla and think she's cute and then want to spend orbs, and that might not be the best decision in the long term for them, especially with limited resources. Like your Spring Camilla is not the optimal choice for a lot of game modes. In fact, she's really not. So I think that's gonna be overwhelming, and these units like these should really just be like archived, outdated, put into a pool somewhere where they're not going to infect us with their banners in the future. They're cool units, and that's the only thing they have left. If someone actually wants to play the game besides collecting them, they should be collecting them because they're outdated, and most people who've been playing for a while don't want this stuff. So this seems really odd, especially once the seasonals return again. So, I mean, I'm not talking about the summoning event itself. The summoning event itself is fine and kind of random, might be like kind of frustrating, honestly. I think this is going to be more frustrating than it's going to be fun. You end up getting with like Summer Leo, and I'm just going to like be upset. And the dude beside you ends up getting Winter Darja, and you're like, well, thanks again, RNG. Thank you. Like that's not even fun. That's just dumb. And the orb might not even show up on top of that. The same deal here. Like this is again another mess. You don't get any sort of like consistency in what you want. You got to look it through the units and say, oh, I hope I don't get Spring Sharina.
Give me distant counter fodder. You know, it's not happening. It's absolutely not happening. With how many in the pool, it's just, I don't think the random element like that's any fun. This thing here, though, is the most impactful thing you as a player can do. Voting for things which can honestly really positively affect us as a community. And I got to tell you right away, you know, legendary heroes, mythic heroes, that's the way to vote right now, just because of how many orbs can be saved and a lot of frustration for a lot of people. Take it from me, legendary Zura, legendary Hector, good choices. Red, I don't care. Legendary Marth, legendary Erica, those are still going to be, you know, decent choices because it's going to help a lot of people that way. And then Colas, Duma, Air, fine. F Grima, doesn't matter. You know, like these are all going to be solid choices because it just saves people a lot of orbs from either wanting it for whatever reason they want to do it in the game. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, the last thing, and finally, the thing that I want to touch on, I don't know whether Dragon Flowers is only specific to the player or it's going to affect the opposing, like the opponents as well. This might be treated as like some sort of summoner support or ally support effect, where it's only affecting the player, but not the opposing person. I hope that's the case, because that would make some of the frustrations in both Arena and Ether Raids more accessible to players, especially now that Ether Raids is going to become even more competitive. This is going to create like Tier 21 was like coast mode, and I gotta agree it was coast mode. You pretty much got there and you don't have to play. Now you gotta play. So hopefully Dragon Flowers can ease that difficulty, and honestly the amount of matches we get per week will now not require you to play every single day, but they're not going to necessarily be more matches per day. I mean, you're still going to have 50 ether, 70 ether regen per day, and 50 to play, and there's no free match. So you're still having about 1.5 times matches per day at the highest tier. Still kind of the same thing. I guess with the ether regen, it might be about almost 2 matches per day, about that much. So it's going to become competitive again. You got to keep your resources in check. You got to try hard. Hopefully Dragon Flowers can counterbalance that. Okay. And just to TLDR it, I think there's some other stuff that should have happened, like the summoning pools, 3 stars, 4 stars, for instance. You know, it's pretty frustrating to get all that stuff now. So they didn't really change that anyway. And we still don't have an HM cap increase after like a whole year. That's what I see here. And that's kind of bad, because it means we cannot get any more farming done. I don't know. Mixed reactions. Lots of cool things. I'm gonna withhold my judgments on what I think until maybe this is decided, but that's totally on you guys as the players, and I hope you guys can vote for something that's basically as utilitarian as possible. What does the most good for the community and not just yourself? And that's what I'm gonna push here, because that's definitely what is going to make the community as a whole happier. That's pretty much it. This is probably the most impactful thing that we have here. Everything else is kind of random, literally random, or kind of uncertain. Dragon Flowers seem uncertain. Ether Raids, a bit more competitive now. Merge Allies update, we already knew that was coming, so that's really cool. But that's pretty much it, right? So, good night, Fe. And good night. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm going to probably update some more videos in the days to come covering whatever other news comes with the update. Weapon refines weren't covered here, obviously, so maybe they're coming. Maybe some special heroes and whatnot. You guys can look forward to that. If there's any meta implication videos that I feel need to be pushed out and covered through an analysis, you guys can look forward to that as well. All right? Thank you for watching. As always, thanks, guys. Give the video a thumbs up. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one.